Hi everyone, welcome to our webcast. I'm Luke and I am with Ashmita and Vladimir today. Vladimir, welcome to our webcast. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Okay,
Good morning.
excellent. Morning indeed. So let's get right into this. Vladimir, for the audience who don't know much about you, could you please maybe, say a couple of lines, who you are, your background, what you do?
Yeah, hi. My name is Vladimir Pasman. I'm a director of data intelligence at the company called Beyond.com, formerly known as Overstock. I'm sure some of you have purchased something from us before. I've actually bought a wedding ring for my wife. They're 23, 24 years ago now. Beyond
You did.
is an e-commerce company. Before that, I worked in a variety of industries, including retail and educational technology and marketing and finance for many years. Spending mainly the last 10 years in all varieties of big data, data warehousing, data processing.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
Thanks, Vlad. Um, Vlad, thank you for joining us today. Um, we have had quite a few conversations, and I would like to start right from the beginning with all the rage that is going on about data today. So, according to you, what is data modernization? Can you start with the meaning itself?
In my view, data modernization is a process of changing access to data in a way which brings dramatic improvements in ability to make important business decisions, whether it's performance, quality of making those business decisions, or time to market.
Okay. So will it be right to say that it's a relative process and we have always been modernizing uh, data, right? Because
Yeah.
when 10 years ago, tools were different, new tools were coming in and you want to modernize and get faster, just like the SSEs on your phone, maybe. Okay, that's that's great. So data modernization is the process by which you dramatically increase the speed at which you access data to make those decisions for your business.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. So I have a question. So this comes from me, like a person like me. I use some data in my day-to-day role, and I can already do everything with the data. Why do I need it today, right? What's this modernization? How would it change my life or improve my life?
We can do anything we want with data, um, but we cannot do it fast enough, and we cannot do it accurately to help our business decisions going forward in the most effective way. For example, you can have data that's not accurate enough to make certain kinds of decisions, right? So, for example, it's old or it's missing important features, or you may not even know what you're missing until somebody starts looking at this. And so, modernizing your data to store it in a way that would enable this kind of a ready-to-use access, preferably in a self-service format where the time to discover is minimal, is crucial. Businesses, do not want to wait for days to be able to make a decision. Businesses do not want to rely on decisions that may have to be reversed because they were made on assumptions that are no longer valid. Businesses want to make those decisions quickly, and so if it takes a long time to find out how to use the data, that is not efficient for us to move forward. So there are lots of different facets of data, from data governance to data quality um, to just being able to make intelligence decisions, and every facet is different. Machine learning has one set of criteria. Real-time processing may have another set of criteria. So you will be looking at things like Google Analytics in a completely different way as you would be looking at your sales and data warehouse, for example. I would start from there. To me, data governance and data intelligence are extremely important to make intelligent and effective decisions.
Yeah, perhaps when I said like I have it today, why do I need this? Maybe I'm overlooking something. So maybe I'm just looking at how easy it is for me to look at data, but I'm not. What I'm not looking at is how old is that piece of data, and if I had the latest data, how that will make difference to my decision making today. So I think that is something I am perhaps overlooking. but you made some really good points there.
How do you know? Let me ask you this, right? How do you know that what you have is correct? How do you know that what you have, which may be okay to make a short-term decision, is going to be something that's going to scale if you decide to make a different decision, or let's say your company acquires, 5 other companies, and all of a sudden, the data points are not matching each other, and so you're not able to scale those decisions.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking just now. That I can be sure of the data I touch on daily basis or I impact, but beyond that, there's no scalability in what I do, and that perhaps is the shortcoming here that we're trying to modernize and address.
I try to solve these problems on a daily basis, and essentially everybody will say, just like what you mentioned, right? I've got the data that I need. Why do I
Yeah.
need a change? Vlad is not the only user in the company, right? What I need today doesn't mean that I will need that tomorrow, or I will need it exactly the same way, and there will not be some gaps. But it also means that there is Luke, and there are other people in the company who will have other data needs, and an important part for any organization to keep an effective and lean organization. And we cannot always afford to have an ETL developer for every person in the company. That's a huge cost factor.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, perfect example. I was speaking with one of the hospitals yesterday that I'm trying to, we're solving some problems with them. One of the issues they have is they are sunsetting one of their ERPs, and they have, imagine a hospital, they have the operations, finance, sales, etc., many different teams. Now, all of them are accessing this old ERP, which is going to be sunset in 6 months. And the biggest worry everyone has is the new data lake going to be presenting them the same data that they have been viewing? Can you guarantee the sameness of what they have been accessing, or even better? So that's one of the problems they face, to gain trust from everyone. And yeah, so what do you think of that? I mean, totally off the top of my mind, this one, just from a conversation
I
last night.
think you just brought up an interesting point, right? ERP is one of the facets of modern data, right? We have ERPs, systems, CRMs. We have all kinds of different BI systems. We have hospitals that buy other hospitals. US is in the midst of dramatic hospital consolidation. I was just at one hospital this morning. It was bought out by another hospital group literally just a couple of months ago.
Right.
And they will be merging multiple ERPs from multiple hospitals that they acquired. It will probably take years, and the systems will not match. And so making decision across your entire enterprise is extremely difficult, if not taken seriously.
Yeah.
And that's where data architecture comes in. It's very important to architect and organize your data in a way that enterprise-wide decisions can be made effectively.
Awesome. I think I'm starting to get a sense of what you're talking about here. Vladimir, let me follow this up. So we're already looking into some of the challenges. Why don't we talk about the challenges with the data modernization?
Okay.
Maybe you have a top 3, top 4, top 5 list. Let's go through that, and I'll challenge you as well while you go through these challenges. Unintended.
You're going to challenge me with challenges? Okay.
Yes.
There are lots. I don't want to go through too many, but I think the most important is, why do I need to modernize, right? Executives typically understand that there is a challenge and it needs to be addressed, but getting a buy-in across your entire organization hierarchically, right? Not just, at the VP and senior VP and, C level, is very important, because unless you have a buy-in at the very bottom, it's not just enough to train people. They need to understand the challenge, the strategy, and the approach to solve it. And they need to understand most importantly, how it will improve their lives. Otherwise, getting the buy-in at every level is going to be very difficult. I think that's probably the biggest challenge, right? Technology we can buy, technology you pay money for, and you can resolve it with expense, but buying at individual level is hard. Lack of acceptance and understanding, and it's kind of leads into buy-in, but in order to persuade and get people on your side, right? You need them to understand the modern ways of treating and dealing with data. So, for example, the data mesh concepts and understanding that data is not just data, right? But it's data products, and data products, have data contracts, and especially on the technology side. End users probably do not care as much because they just want their data. But if you need to be able to explain that your data product is really no different than your iPhone app. It has a useful interface. It has its usability. It provides them with functionality and features that they need in their everyday life, and it's served in a way that will make their day more efficient and will be able to help them provide the services to their internal or external customers as much as that, iPhone app provides you latest stock quotes. It's really no different. Yeah, go ahead.
So let me ask you something then. So an iPhone, if I buy an iPhone tomorrow, I can see visible improvement in my life. If you consider I don't have a phone today, so I want to understand. I'd love to understand from your point of view, if you get somebody to buy into, let's have a new data platform, it's going to improve our lives drastically. How soon can they see or start to see minor improvements to major improvements in their day-to-day decision making or other aspects of their work?
This is a challenge.
Okay.
This
I
is a
told you I would
challenge, right?
challenge you.
I was early in the iPhone game, and I had one of the earliest iPhone apps out there, and it was actually a newsreader app. Many, many years ago, probably more than 10 at this point. I don't even remember. But let's be honest, right? You do not end up in Apple Store, even in those days, overnight. It takes months of rigorous planning, understanding your needs, and tailoring your solution to what you're trying to achieve, right? And it requires not just it requires planning and timeline and everything else, right? It's a project. But I also want to make sure that it's clear that it's a very long running project. It's more of a program, right? You have to plan it in steps. So if I'm gonna come back to you and say, okay, well, you're gonna have this magical platform that's gonna solve all your needs tomorrow, I'm lying, right? Just like I won't be able to produce an iPhone app in a day, even tomorrow. It'll
Yeah.
probably take me time to get a developer license and write it in the app and publish into the store and approving. So that's not going to happen in split second. It's quick these days, right? But it's not going to happen quickly enough. It requires a lot of planning. It requires a strategy. It requires understanding your data. Do you need an ERP? Do you have an ERP? Is existing ERP serving your needs? CRM, CDP, BI tools, data lake versus data warehouse, or maybe both, right? It really depends on the problems that your business needs solving.
I
There are
see.
performance issues, there are cost issues, right? Solving
Mhm.
them in, what is the budget? Where can we cut? Can I afford not to have security? Probably not, right? And so
Yeah.
it really depends on every business and their business needs. You have to understand your business inside and out, um, without boiling the ocean, without trying to solve all the problems at once. Find the top three problems that you need to solve tomorrow.
Okay.
Get business buy-in, implement them, but architect them in a way that will allow you to scale tomorrow. Because building a custom solution in a black box is probably not a good idea because it will require a lot of rework tomorrow. Do it smartly.
Yeah.
Plan.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm understanding is that any data modernization projects would entail a small business exercise in the beginning, understanding where the business is today, where they want to be, and basically to cover that gap, you go on this modernization journey, and you don't just say like we'll get to that end point in 5 years, but you rather set small milestones and objectives which you will visibly see and improve. The whole idea here is that you start off and build things in a way that will ultimately scale and become this huge, snowball, let's say, that's going to have a very drastic change ultimately in the long run.
Do it in an agile way. Yeah, iterate,
Uh,
find the right partners, identify the right partners. Maybe it's
okay.
multiple partners, maybe it's one partner. It really depends on every organization. Everybody's different.
Well, not just partners, tools as well. So, which I'm coming to. I have that
Okay.
down as one of the questions, Vladimir. So that's very good advice so far, Vladimir. By the way, I do have a couple of questions. One of them is the tech stack or the modern data stack, but I wanted to ask you before we go into the stack. Maybe I describe the process in a very high level way. Perhaps you can explain to the audience what step do I take today, right? What's the next step if I'm thinking maybe I need a data modernization project going on in my organization? Where do I begin?
I would start with, maybe top three challenges you have today. Whatever they are. I'm not able to do X, right? I'm not able to predict the prices of my products, or I'm not able to properly and quickly see my financials on a daily basis or even, hourly basis, whatever your need is. Whatever bothers you the most, like, put it in Excel spreadsheet, order it by in order of importance, and look at the top three, and that's probably the right place to start, and try
Mm,
to solve those top three problems first, maybe top five, whatever makes sense for the organization, and then just address the remaining ones as the time goes by.
I hear you. So something like if I am, in the business of, let's say supply chain, so how can I optimize it? And if I see a lot of savings by making an early purchase of certain expensive, parts, if I work in spare parts business,
Yeah,
how do I get data put together which allows me to understand or forecast the demand better? And instead of buying things last minute and providing it to my customers, I do these purchases way in advance, good customer service, cheaper parts, more margins, etc., etc. All that.
it could even be simpler. My previous company I used to work for, our initial problems were related to just getting insights to our users quickly enough. It would take hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Today, we have other challenges, which are as simple as, a smallest business intelligence request could take days and sometimes months because the data is not self-served in a way for our end users to make their decisions quickly. Every company will have different set of challenges, but typically they're simple. They're not as sophisticated. Oh, I bought three hospitals. Now, how do I anticipate procurement to buy, I don't know, diapers across three hospitals, for example?
Mm-hmm.
Could be as simple as how do I even get the data from three hospitals in a single place so I can make that purchasing decision?
I think, yeah, this is a simpler way of looking at it. So thank you. That's great advice, by the way. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Ashmita, I will let you take the some of the questions. I have been blabbering all the way along. So let's pass it on to you.
I've actually been thinking about this because while you were talking, Vlad, I was thinking about the implementation of data modernization in my field, which is marketing. And one of the first things that came up as a problem in marketing was the media mix. And one of the first implementation of AI was in media mix because that was a key problem. And we always, as human beings, made a lot of mistakes in the media mix. But as soon as we started involving AI, that was the lowest hanging fruit the industry identified, and immediately the entire modeling itself changed. So I was actually thinking about this. So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
Well, luckily enough, there is a lot of good tools in marketing. They're not cheap, but they're there and they're helping solve problems. And even in the marketing field, if you think about it, there's a convergence among tools. Things like Adobe and Google Analytics and all of the other ones are encroaching on CRMs, and CRMs are encroaching on CDPs and all the other marketing tools. And obviously companies are growing bigger by encroaching on each other. But there's a lot of convergence of these tools, which I think is exciting for everybody because it makes marketplace more competitive.
definitely. Talking about convergence and tools, could you tell us a little bit about the data stack that exists today in the modern world?
So I'm going to be brutally honest here. The definition of modern data stack, even though there are people who claim it exists, it doesn't, right? Modern data stack is any tool you can throw into the bag that solves your problem, and that will be your personal, modern data stack. Now, if we talk about like I said before, Salesforces and Adobe's are encroaching on each other, right? CDP turns into CRM, and CRM turns into CDP, and they're kind of getting closer and closer and closer. Same thing happens with data warehouses and data lakes. Perfect example would be, and again, this is a simplistic model, right? But think about a data lake, and maybe Databricks is a typical example of data lake, but it's definitely not the only one, right? Every major cloud provider has their own data lake implementation. So Databricks is moving toward a data warehouse. Data warehouse like Snowflake is moving toward a data lake. Look at BigQuery, for example, and how they're allowing to use SQL across different resources, whether it's in data lake or in data warehouse or even on-prem. Think about Snowpark in Snowflake that to an extent mimics some of the functionality of, let's say, PySpark and Spark-like things in Databricks and Apache Spark, for example. There is this convergence, and that convergence is from the understanding that in a modern data stack, it's not enough to just store the data and give people access to data. You have to give that access to you have to provide that access in a meaningful way, which allows multiple, maybe even real-time data streams, which allows automated and validated data ingestion, which allows machine learning on top, including Gen AI and all these other new cool features, right? And so where there used to be a data warehouse before, and Snowflake and others, it's not the only player in the game, right? It's able to provide all these amazing performance features at the same place. The Databricks is trying to optimize its engines to get closer to the performance of a modern data warehouse, for example, and provide additional functionality. And so this is good for us. I mean, the competition in the market is always good in terms of functionality prices, but it creates its additional challenges. And we if you want me to talk about them now or later. To me, like I said, the modern data stack is any tool that you need to be effective in your job.
And you can
Could
afford
be,
it as well.
and can afford it, right? So it can be a data lake, a data warehouse, a combination of both, right? Definitely some kind of a data governance, even if it's a rudimentary tool, right? It's Google, it could be Dataplex or whatever it is. You gotta be able to understand your data. You gotta be able to make your data discoverable. You have to make sure it's validated, not to the point of obviously driving your costs out, driving you out of business in terms of costs, but it has to be meaningful. You have to be able to trust your data, and you need to be able to always go back and say, okay, I need to make additional decisions. I remember having something there. Let's pull it out of the pocket and do more with it. In the past, I worked for a company that, and we called it normalization. We would basically normalize what we assumed was unuseful data to the point where we could no longer make decisions if the customer comes back and asks for additional insights. And so keeping as much as you can without losing it, even though it might cost a little more. Storage is cheap, right? Keep it in a way which allows you to go back, and data is a minefield. It's gold mine, right? But you don't know where the gold is, so you have to wash it. Wash it first.
I see. Well, that actually leaves me with more questions than answers, by the way. So, so I think we need to. So I have questions around. So I think the answer is there is no particular data stack that favors one and all. Data stack is all about what the business objectives, what the data strategy is, finding the right tools, or getting help from somebody to find those tools, which are going to not cost you an arm and a leg, and business, drives the costs up. So you have to balance, I think, a few different things to find the data stack that works for you, perhaps.
Yeah, and then in the 21st century, I guess we have concepts, of data mesh, of data fabric. The data mesh concept allows faster and more reliable and more granular and access to data to enable a lot of the services on top of your modern data stack. Again, I consider modern architectural approaches in addition to just a hodgepodge tools. Data architecture is very important. Setting things up in a way that enables discovery, enables trust in data.
I see. Discovery and trust. So, Vladimir, I am sure, and we are running out of time a little bit, so we are running late. So, my opinion is that data architecture makes a very interesting topic. How about we have another conversation around data architecture next?
Absolutely.
I'd love to go through that with you. But if that's everything, I think I'd like to thank you for your time today. It's been amazing. I thought this was a very useful session. I hope the audience will like it. And thank you again.
Thank you very much for inviting me.